Okay, so today we are going to talk with Otto. He's one of our dear friends, and he was a mentor of mine and still a mentor of mine. And Otto is a professor in Wayne State University. And today we'll be discussing about quantifying qualifications and challenging the Excel sheet approach to the tenure world. I mean, me and Otto usually have these conversations because we really would like to know if this tenure track is still relevant for the current academic situation. But today we'll have a one-on-one so we can actually hear more about his thoughts. So Otto, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Could you just give us a bit about your background and tell why you chose to be a professor and do the job that you're doing?
Yeah, so my name is Otto Muzik. I'm professor at Wayne State University in downtown Detroit. I'm in Department of Pediatrics. I'm actually from Austria, from Vienna, from 10th District, for Favoriten. I went basically to high school here, Radetzky Gymnasium, and I was always try to understand the meaning of life. What is my purpose? And I at the end of my high school, when I was contemplating what to do with my life, I saw a Scientific American issue of positron emission tomography, which actually showed that we can make neural processes visible. So music, occipital cortex, and memory temporal, and vision, occipital. So, and that's actually triggered my kind of purpose to do neuroscience, to study the brain with scientific methods. And actually, the funny thing is that when I grew up in the late 70s and early 80s, there was no neuroscience. So, when I kind of brought this up, that people ask me, what do you want to do? I said, I wanted to study the brain with scientific methods. And people say, hey, that doesn't exist. You either be a physician and neurologist or a psychiatrist, or you're going to be engineer working of some CT or MR scanners. And I always felt that there is something more I have to do. So basically my purpose was understand the brain as a regulatory organ. So I understand myself, how I make decisions, how I use memory, how I define goals, and so on. And at that time, the only PET scanner was in Germany, in Jülich, Kernforschungsanlage Jülich. So I went to Jülich and learned, PET imaging. Did my PhD through the Atom Institute in Wien, but the work was done in Jülich. And then I wanted to come back to Vienna, do PET imaging and do neuroscience. Unfortunately, there was no PET scanner in 1990 in Vienna. So they said, why don't you go for 2 years to United States and, get a little bit more mature, get more experience, and so on. And so I went to United States, and at that time, going to the United States was like nowadays going to the moon. So it was far away. Nobody knew what to expect, and so on. So I went there, and actually I started working because there was no position in neuroscience with Markus Schweiger in Ann Arbor, Michigan, about cardiac imaging, PET imaging. And so that went for a few years till 93. In the meantime, I got married to Americans, so I started my process, American citizenship. And then 93, I wanted to come back to Vienna. There was still no PET scanner in Vienna. So that's kind of the thing. My life would have actually gone very different if we would have a PET
Is Vienna got a PET scanner?
Yeah. So, and then I stayed, and finally I got a position at Wayne State University, which is downtown Detroit, in the Department of Pediatrics to study developing brain. And that's actually really my career. How is the developing brain? How did it develop? What are the conditions? What is the plasticity of the brain? We did actually children with epilepsy, autism, developmental delay, and try to study the defects of the brain. But my purpose was always to understand the brain, the regulatory system, which we call the brain.
So it's a long journey that you had.
Very long journey. I hope I'm not going.
No. It's all good. The thing that I still have this question that you actually wanted to study neuroscience. You went to
That was my
Michigan.
purpose, having
Yeah.
neuroscience.
No, so you went to Michigan. But at that time, you said neuroscience was not a big thing. Did you have like opportunities not going to a university but going to an industry and doing whatever you wanted to? Because you started with cardiac anyway. You were not able
Yeah.
to do neuroscience at the start. Why did you choose a university life or being an academic?
I thought that that was the only way how to how to pursue neuroscience at that time. I didn't think that I mean, what companies did we have with the neuroscience? It's not, again, coming back that my sister's psychiatrist, she's Freudian analyst. So I could have gone into psychiatry or really into engineering. And engineering is more, is so engineering like PET imaging, CT, MR is really the tool. You kind of worry about the tool, the method. But the method is really not important, is what you do with it. So essentially, what is the product which comes out of it? And obviously the quality of your product is dependent on the quality of your tool. But it's the insight you get from the tool which is important, not the tool itself. So that I thought that is the only way to go academia.
So you so if I understand it right, you felt that academia gave you the right setting in order to pursue your vision,
Yes.
and there were no
And
industries doing it.
again, people thought I'm naive, and it's like, academia. There's a lot of strings attached. There is no kind of neuroscience. It was really not clear, and actually, this is probably interesting for people who start their career. And that's what I tell my students now when I teach at the university, is that you have to have a vision. You have to have a vision and pursue your vision. That's the most important, because even if it fails, even if it would have failed and, there is no neuroscience, I would have said, okay, I thought about this, I did it, it was my way and it didn't work. It's bad luck. But I didn't follow somebody else's advice, which was not mine.
Hmm. But in your case, is it safe to assume that you were not really looking for a professorship or
No,
something?
absolutely not.
So this is a positive side effect, or positive or whatever side
So,
effect that you had.
and actually, and now we're going to talk about tenure and everything. That's You don't go, and that was the original idea of university. You go to a university to pursue a certain vision, to increase knowledge in a certain way. And being a professor or having like a certain status is kind of a secondary. It's not important, it comes with the job. But the more important is that you generate new knowledge. And actually, the new knowledge you generate for society, but at the end, you generate it for yourself, because I wanted to know why I'm doing certain things, why something hurts me psychologically, mentally, and why something not. So at the end, I did it for myself, and everybody needs to find, I think, this vision which is important to him.
Mhm. So since we are talking about tenure as well, you had to go through the process of tenure in order to like get into the position you are. But for people who don't know about tenure, can you briefly explain what tenure means?
So tenure means that your position is guaranteed. I mean, I don't know how it is in Austria. In the United States, is that you have staff position, you have academic position. Academic positions are a lot of time on soft money, so dependent on the grant. That means the grant lands out, you lose your position. But if you have a tenure, that means that the university vested into you, that you have a job no matter what. So you don't need to bring any grant. So you're independent of grant. You're on hard money, as we say. But actually, the interesting part was that, you see, I never kind of played this game, kind of this tenure and assistant professor, associate, full professor was kind of always secondary. That was not it kind of came with the job, but that was not the main interest of mine. And maybe I was lucky and I didn't need to worry about it. But I think that if you are interested in a certain topic and you pursue it really with your heart, you're going to be good, because it's an issue to you. You really do it because you want to really understand it. And if you want to understand it, other people get excited and they give you credit. They say, wow, this guy's good. He really thinks deeply about that. So you don't play to the audience. You actually do stuff, but eventually people appreciate it. So my point is, maybe nowadays people worry more about the structure of a university, be assistant, associate, full professor, instead of really what is my core? What is the core?
Mhm. I mean, it's interesting you say that, because tenure has been one of the longest traditions of universities, right? But why was it introduced in the first place? You said it gives confirmation that your job is secure, which is a great thing, because most of the academics, as you told,
Yeah.
they
On
have
top money.
yeah, it's like a 1 year,
Yeah, 3 years.
and it stifles creativity. At least for us, I can also.
Exactly. I mean, how can you be creative if somebody breathes down your neck and you have a family and children, and people say, well, man, in 6 months you might lose your job. So what you're gonna do? You're gonna go the low hanging fruit. Where is funding? I'm gonna do this. So you abandon your goal of neuroscience and say, hey, people do something else, cachexia, cardiac, whatever,
Mhm.
because there's money there.
Mhm.
And now you sell out in an intellectual way, but that's how you have to do it, because you need to survive. So tenure was meant to give people who the university or the senior faculty believe that they are worthwhile, that they're really interested in a topic, to pursue a topic, kind of free reign, that they say, okay, we believe that you are really interested in it, that you are not just taking advantage of the system. So we committing to you. It's a commitment.
Mhm.
I mean, it's like a marriage, you commit to the woman and you say, no, well, she's old now, or, not as pretty, maybe we should move on. And that's, I mean,
Your wife will probably watch this.
now maybe you cut this out, but that's kind of the same thing. It's the commitment. You get the commitment, and in as I understood academia, there is a gentleman's agreement. You commit more than you have to, and I do harder work than I need to do.
Mhm.
So a gentleman's agreement, and I don't know if this is still valid now that, and we can talk about the business model of academia, that really it's a business enterprise. It's a business enterprise with a CEO, with an Excel spreadsheet, how much money comes in, how much do we think, and by the way, we do some research.
Now, it's interesting that you tell that. You actually said when you started, it was basically meant with goodwill, right? The tenure
Yes.
position. I give you security. It's you can be as creative as you want, because I trust in your vision. I do everything. So you feel, as you said, right, or you feel that the tenure positions, the criteria has been changed from the time it was introduced and the way it is being done
Well,
right now.
it has changed because of the incentive you get by the system now. So the university is becoming more a business enterprise than really a place of learning. They don't attract people who are really interested in, kind of like generalizing, but in general, people come in because of status, because of money, because of, like climbing the ladder at Siemens or another company,
Mhm.
and not because I really want to do it. And even if I wouldn't, get much less money, I would still be there because I'm interested. I'm much more interested in study, I don't know, neuroscience, or, how the brainstem works, than working for Siemens makes 3 times more money.
Mhm.
And that's actually how it should be. But now it's kind of changed, and it attracts the wrong kind of people. And that's why we have discussion about the tenure system, that by the different selection of people, it's, you're climbing the ladder, corporate ladder, in Siemens, or in a commercial enterprise or university. It's almost indistinguishable nowadays, and that's the problem.
Mhm. You actually said it's a business model.
It's absolutely a business model.
So what are the criteria that the university looks at if a person applies for a tenure? So what are they evaluating right now?
How much funding he can get.
Okay, is it just the funding? Is it the papers? Is it the
Well, basically, the papers are just, as the university or the administrator understand it, it's just a precursor to getting funding. So you publish a lot of papers, so the probability that you get funding. But the funding is actually the part that they are interested in.
Mhm.
They kind of don't, I think they don't care about the papers by itself, or by the knowledge that is created. It's just, oh, you publish a lot of papers, you have a high impact factor. So when your grant comes to review, people say, oh, it's very accomplished, now we're gonna fund your grant. So the incentive at the end of the day is really the money.
Okay, so they think of a manuscript like a causal relationship, so that you get
Yeah,
a chance.
it's a precursor to getting funded.
Okay,
That's actually how they understand it.
but university is a place of teaching and learning. Do they
Exactly.
actually value teaching? Like if I'm
Well, university always does a lip service to teaching, so I don't know this important. But if you have a $10 million grant, nobody cares about your teaching. They say, it's fine. So although, what is university? University is teaching, service, and research.
Mhm.
So you teach, obviously, the next generation, which is very important. What kind of value are you proposing? If you're a professor who only runs and say, okay, we need the next grant, then just submit this, and we can talk about the funding situation. Right now we have a funding situation. What is it? 15%, 20%, 20% if you are lucky.
If you're lucky, yeah.
So 80% of people fail anyway, no matter how good you are.
Mhm.
So 80% fail, 20% or 15 succeed. So you have many more losers than winners.
Mhm.
So it already generates a highly competitive structure. So everybody, it's envious of everybody else and watching them and so on. So instead of being collegial, you are actually hedging your bets because you want to get your grandfather, not the other guy.
Mhm.
Because it's so the point is that what changed really, and maybe it was always like that, but it was not as strongly developed, was the business model of the university. That now actually really everything about money and not about teaching and service. Service, being on ethics committee, being on radiation safety committee, being on, I don't know, curriculum evaluation committee and so on. It's like, so what?
You said in the previous comment that this kind of tenure system that we have right now and the qualification criteria brings in the wrong kind of people.
Exactly. It drives the wrong incentive. So the wrong kind of people come in. And now you are right that, now once you went through the ladder up, say, finally I reached it. Now I actually didn't like anything I did for the last 10 years. Now I'm kind of take it easy. That's kind of the problem.
So if I understand it right, you said that people try to chill after they getting it. Is it
Because they pursued something which they actually were not that convinced about. They did something out of the necessity or pragmatism because there was funding available.
Do you think there is some kind of misconception for the people who actually fought really hard to get the tenure and then they chilled? Because the tenure, as you told, was to give you liberty,
So
not
I don't think that in general this really happen. I mean, it like everywhere. It might happen in very few cases that you went, become tenure, and then you don't do anything. Usually there are two things: either you are kind of on your way, you kind of developed a certain passion, and then you pursue your passion, and this passion might not align with the university because it might not bring in money. So you think about, I don't know, like when I think, or write papers about, how the different neural networks work together, how you can incorporate Freudian analysis into neuroscience and so on. This is not something, this is easy fundable. But it's important because, the junior faculty generates a mountain of data. Actually, this is the problem. We have a mountain of data, but not the overarching concept how to actually get knowledge or insight from the data. And that's actually, I think it's the purpose of somebody with tenure, because now you have time to think. You say, well, I don't need to get the next grant in 6 months. Let's just think about this. And if I think about this for 9 months, so be it, but I'll come with it. And so your original question was if this happens, that people, mostly it happens in a rare occasions, and they are always kind of put as an example, but that's actually very rare. Either people kind of develop the passion, or they now become a kind of addicted to being in a field, being important, going to meetings. Oh yeah, I was at Harvard and I this and this, and still influence, and kind of staying in contact and actually doing something just to keep their profile up.
So you actually brought an important point, because you said that when you give a tenure position, he or she can think about like big problems without having
how to integrate,
exactly.
how to make insight or out of mountain of data.
Yeah, but with the way that the current tenure track is built, do you think that it has an impact on the academic system itself? Because now the people, as you told, either they chill or they get addicted to the field and they just go to the ground, go to the hot topics that they say, okay, this hot topic is going to give me the highest amount of status. I'm going to do this instead of focusing on a problem that is dear to them or to the community itself. Do you think this causes an impact to the current academic system?
So the academic system, again, I think it has problems. Obviously, there are good things and bad things. I think that what should change, specific changes. I think that this evaluation system where people just kind of add up some, publications and how much money you burn, maybe this should be a part of it, but equally should be a kind of a discussion with the candidate, where you can sit down with him and say, so what's your vision? What you think, how you can contribute to society? And based on this, you know, you start talking to somebody for an hour, you kind of get a feeling if the guy is for real or not. He really has a passion, if he really has original ideas, or not. And that's actually not happening at all, because that's really difficult to formalize. Yeah. And that's, I'm in United States. So in United States, when we have the exam, everything is multiple choice. Why? Because it's black and white. There is no kind of arbitrary, some subjectivity. When I went in Vienna to the university, we had exam at the blackboard, and the teacher, we had a discussion evaluating, and then he gave me, I don't know, whatever grade I got. But you could say, oh, it's very, very subjective. He didn't like you, he asked you a different question, or he asked you, it's kind of the same thing. It is, but I think this is the only way how to rekindle this kind of university. I mean, Woodman's University. Universitas is the unity or the community of scholars and teachers. That's actually what is the origin. It needs to be that's actually the origin, that there are senior faculty which try to get new knowledge and transmit new knowledge, and new people who come and try to absorb the new knowledge and define their own goals and visions. And that's actually, we don't have that right now.
But
so basically, specifically, what should happen is that we have this informal discussion or talk between, I don't know, senior faculty, maybe a panel of professors, and say, okay, let's just spend 3-4 hours. You just tell me about, what you're doing, what you think is important, how this relates to society, what is your vision about, how to transmit it to the new generation, what's wrong in the university, and so on.
But in the current case, the way you mentioned it right now, like how it should be done, but this is how usually the professors are hired, right? Like the full professors. They actually look at of course, they look at what they have published and what they have contributed to the society. Then they bring the person in, and then you have a committee where they present their ideas and whatsoever. So you say that they should actually start doing it earlier, even for the tenure position.
I think for the tenure position would be most important.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, this happens, this process, when you hire a professor, you kind of talk to him and try to figure out what his vision is, what he can accomplish, and what he stands for, and how he's going to affect, basically university life, service, research, teaching, and so on. So that happens. I think it's more a problem. Well, so there is one thing about just tenure, faculty with tenure. I think that needs to be improving. On the side, when you hire the chair of the department, that to a certain extent happens. Although there is a lot of politics, but that comes with.
But who is offering? So, for example, when a person applies for a tenure position in the US, who evaluates it? Is it like some admin person or someone in the management, or is it like a faculty of
Actually, it's
professor?
by his peers. So basically, we just went this. We had, every year Wayne State has kind of this evaluation period, where you kind of submit what you published, and the grants, and what your teaching is, and your service, and kind of the vision, and what we kind of narrated what's important. And then there is a committee by your peers. So the Department of Pediatrics, there are 20 people, so they take five, and and they actually voted. These five are voted by the other 20. And so they kind of evaluate you.
So how do they evaluate? Basically,
They however you think that it's valuable or not, that's kind of subjective, right?
okay. But you said the earliest thing, they usually it goes around by the amount of papers or amount of grant that you bring in, because not everyone in the committee would know about you, right?
Well, they read your CV, they read
Mhm.
your kind of vision statement or whatever, and the thing. But you see, it's in our department, for example, pediatrics, this is because we know each other. So we know if the guy does something. So you don't need to read his CV necessarily. You kind of know. I don't know how it's done here, if it's done by the, in I don't radiology or
No,
for
frankly,
medicine, if it's like a committee by the peers, they evaluate it. Who kind of know the lay of the land. Right?
yeah. But in our case, I mean, this is actually pretty good. You, at least you're being judged by your peers who actually know the work. In our case, it's kind of blind. We have a tenure track position as well, where you're supposed to fill in how much papers you got in.
Yeah, that's
So
problem, because you see, again, we coming back to the Excel spreadsheet. That's really easy. It's like the multiple choice.
yeah,
You click that. Oh, this is wrongly, checked. So I subtract the
I'm
point.
not even kidding. We literally have an Excel sheet that we need to fill. So the funny thing is, we need to say if you have got into like this Spitz journal, which is basically the like nature
That's
cell.
my point. This is the incentive. So what kind of incentive do you give to the people? The only thing is to get on a paper.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you know what's in the
Exactly.
paper or
Exactly.
you contributed, or who cares?
Yeah.
The thing, you get the 3 points. The 3 points are the point, the
Exactly.
issue.
And they have a certain number of
What you're
points.
teaching people.
Yeah, it's
And then you are surprised. Then once these people go through the system, they say once they have tenure, say, screw it. Now I'm out of the rat race. Now I'm not going to do anything because I suffered the last 15 years.
So what will happen to academia if this continues?
It becomes another commercial company. With CEO, people get fired, hired. It's politics. Nobody trusts anybody. Just go to a regular company and see the inside politics.
And the state of the science?
The science is not going to be important. So science is probably going to be done by other people, like, startups or whatever, people who actually really believe in a project and do it and scrape up some money and do it anyway. Even people say, you are crazy, you shouldn't be doing it. Actually, it's funny because I saw a documentary with Arnold Schwarzenegger, where he grew up in, somewhere in the Steiermark. And he actually kind of said the same thing. He said, oh, when I grew up, I said, oh, I'm going to America, I'm going to do, bodybuilding, and, maybe I make a career. They said, you're crazy, you're never going to be there. You're from Klagenfurt or whatever, for Steiermark. Why shouldn't you do it? He said, no, I really wanted to do it, and I did it. This is where we are,
It's actually interesting that you say that in the future, probably if the way this continues, academia will not be.
It would be another company.
Yeah,
It's another company with all the good things and bad things of a company, but not of a. Essentially, it's going to be a company like really like Siemens or GE or whatever. They have a product. Everybody is evaluated. The salespeople, how much sales they're making, and by the way, then they kind of hire new people and they train new people. That's going to be like the students. We train them to do something, but it's going to be the important point for the students not going to be, oh, I never make better PET scanners or CT scanner. It's like, I want to move up in the hierarchy. Right now I'm a schmuck somewhere in the in the fabrication floor. I want to be in the managing floor. That's the only thing they want.
So good. Now you actually said, at least in the future, that in order to decide if someone should get a tenure or not, you form a committee. You actually evaluate.
That's probably the best. I mean, it's it's least flawed. Let's put it this way. I
It's
think
least
that
flawed.
what it's I mean, no system is perfect, obviously.
No, I like this word because it is true, because even then we take some of the attributes where you're going to judge the person based on
I think
your subjective
you should take into consideration publication and in grants. I don't kind of want to belittle this, but I think the important is that you have somebody who has a defined vision, who say, "I standing for this. This is what I want to accomplish, and I'm going to be flexible within the university structure, but this is my purpose. This is I really want to understand this particular." Whatever it is.
So basically, you want to see if the person actually bleeds for this vision.
If actually there is something behind this person.
Okay.
If he's just a careerist, or if he actually, if they say, okay, he plays the career game, but what is behind this guy? Is there something, is a substance behind him? That's
Okay.
actually what you try to figure out.
But taking the other aspect of it, the publication part. Now, I mean, it's almost like a universal mantra for saying like publish or perish, right? And for a person like you, because you actually bled for this particular idea that you would like to know about neuroscience, the publications are again a side effect. But now, if you look at any big university, people just kind of nudge their way into a paper. They really don't
So
care.
there are two kinds of publication.
Yeah.
Some publication. So I worked on a paper for a year. Kind of the thing, improving it, the thing. Highly inefficient, a year, the thing. You can churn out a paper, you throw it some regions, you do something, systems biology, whatever you come up with, you can publish, every 3 months. It's kind of the quality. Now, the paper, we kind of eventually Carl Friston was reviewing it, make some suggestions, we went back and so on. And I can send you the paper and you guys can judge if it's worthwhile. How the brain works, what's the predictive, and so the brain is a regulatory organ. It tries to regulate the body reactively and predictively, and from this premise a lot of things originate, and we can talk about it separately. So but my point is that if you write a paper which is really where you actually pour your soul in and do it right, it takes a long time. People say, "Hey, you write one paper. What the thing? That's not very efficient." But nobody reads the paper because people say, impact factor 15. Who cares? Or 20 or whatever.
So, in your opinion, if you are a part of a tenure committee, yeah, in this hypothetical situation that you're suggesting right now, if a person comes in, he or she has a publication record, but it reflects on the quality which helps them to achieve their vision. So you would give them a strong.
I think it has to be weighted. I mean, publication in grants are important. Teaching is important. The quality of teaching. What kind of teaching? That thing. What kind of service are you providing for the university? Are you actually participating? Are you just being on the committee just to be there and say, I was there. I didn't do anything. I'm just kind of being there. Or did you actually try to improve it? You just say, hey, no, we need to change it. This committee is not effective. Where then so on the Excel spreadsheet, being on a committee, yes or no, check. It's not. It's like with the Zoom. People say, "Oh, Zoom meetings are great because attendance is much better. Participation is zero."
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody's there, but nobody put in the camera on. It's like how much you have to contribute, but that's actually not in your Excel spreadsheet. Your spreadsheet is just one. It's not like you've been on the committee or not. Even if you don't do anything. So that's actually the problem, that they're wrong incentive. Just being on the committee and not doing anything. That's actually the wise thing to do.
Okay.
According to the system.
Yeah. So you're from the other side you're from the other side. Are there any initiatives from the US where the academics say, or the tenured professors or the full professor says, you see, the academic tenure system is rotten. Let's make some changes. Are there some initiatives that are going there?
So we have a problem in the United States. There is a big rift between the faculty and the administration. And I guess I sense it's kind of the same here, that administration does their own thing and faculty does something else. And both are resenting the other part. The administration always think that the professor are, bums who don't do, and we always, look at the administration, they don't produce anything and they are jerking us around. I think that the first step is, and we're trying this, and actually this is, I think is important if we want to move forward, that administration and faculty needs to somehow make a better arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually not sure how to do that, but that's actually what we're trying to do in the States. So in Wayne State University, we had this big thing because we had a big fight, a few years ago, that the president came and said, well, tenure should, we don't need tenure. Why should we have tenure? And he said, well, it's my prerogative to, it's kind of the rules are a little bit lax in there. And there was a big fight, and now people say, okay, let's not fight. But what happened is that it alienated the two strata in the university: administration versus faculty. And you are on one side, on the other side, and not together. And so that's really the problem that we're having, that the administration kind of evaluates you. And that was even the problem. They said, okay, it's fine, administration can evaluate you, but then we want to evaluate the administration. If we are not happy with I don't know, the chair, then we vote him off.
So when you say administration, what do you exactly mean?
Administration means, the university structure. So the rector, the chair, the president, and so on. So, the president said, oh,
man, so you guys actually said we are going to evaluate the rector?
Well, that was the argument, that the administration said, well, we shouldn't have tenure. It's like, why are you changing the system?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should start changing the system that you guys get less salary.
Mm-hmm.
Because the administration does their own thing. They said, no, we are the administration. It's like, no, that doesn't work. So what I'm trying to say, that there is a big fight actually going on in the US between faculty and administration. And I think that here's the same thing. It's just not kind of explicitly stated, but also kind of underlining that administration works against or that people don't work together. They kind of work against each other.
No, it's actually funny that now you told me what administration is. It's basically the people who are like the higher.
You ask me, I'm minister.
Yeah,
the people who actually evaluate you. You read the Excel spreadsheet and say, oh, you publish only 3 papers. What the heck? It's like, read the papers and then let's talk about the papers and then we have a discussion.
No, but what are their stakes? So they're evaluating it. Is it because of university ranking, or they want to say, okay, look, we have a shiny new star who published like 30 papers in Nature or Cell and has like 50 million euros during his tenure in NIH fundings or European Union fundings or whatever. What is the stake? Why are they obsessed with this number? Is it for the university ranking, or is it like this pride that we are the top 25?
So it's actually interesting that you mentioned, because we asked the same question. And the answer was that, I'm not sure how it's in Austria. In US, is administration or presidents always move, so to get another job. It's like we work for Siemens, and now when they say, oh, I saved the university so much money, I kind of streamlined the thing, they now make so much more money, you have a better chance to getting a job. So administration have their own incentive to decrease salaries, to make more money, improve ranking of the university, because now they get the better jobs in another university. So they actually work for their own. So they actually don't care necessarily about Wayne State University. They say, hey, my career, if I can show that I think I'm going to University of Michigan or Harvard or wherever. Now I'm an administrator at Harvard instead of Wayne State. But maybe that doesn't apply to Austria. People are in administration here. They don't. Oh, I'm gonna go to Klagenfurt or Graz to.
Yeah, exactly. Because I
don't understand why this is here. I can understand in the US why they're doing it.
Yeah.
But here there is no incentive. They just do it because
it's there. It was a system. It was there. They just follow blindly.
I mean, but it's kind of. I mean, I don't want to be joking too much, but there is this joke that kind of the nature of Austrians, it's kind of envy. And there is this joke that a genie comes to the guy and says, hey, you did a good job. I give you a wish. You have a free wish. And guy said, oh, my neighbor has a beautiful horse. This horse is really great. He said, oh, you want a horse like that? He said, no, I want the horse to die. That's actually kind of how
he can say it. He is Austrian, so it works.
Now that's kind of how I see that. That it's kind of an envy, but basically from neuroscience point of view, I think that it's this again coming down to the competition.
Mm-hmm.
If you have if the most important at the university is the funding, and you have a 20% pay line, then obviously everybody is your competitor.
Mhm.
So if he doesn't get the, I might get it. So you are actually envious of the next guy. Actually, so that means if you play up this getting grant money is the most important, then this is the incentive you're producing.
Mhm.
So and then we come to
It's actually
success actually.
it's interesting that you say that. Do you think that this tenure system that we have right now is stifling collaboration because you want to be the bigger guy?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. That's why nobody really collaborates with anybody else, because nobody trusts each other. Because everybody says, if I do that, what is up to me? And maybe if I do that, the guy gets an unfair advantage. So
It-
that's where the collaboration ends.
It really sounds like a doomsday situation here
It again,
for science
it's
or
not,
anything.
I think that the administration of the university meant well when they kind of embrace this business model.
Yeah.
So they say, oh, it's more efficient, capitalism, meritocracy. Meritocracy has some advantage, but it also, a dark side, and this is the dark side.
So okay, we actually spoke about people who are typically in the academic track, right? Even with this new tenure position, so for this new way of tenure, we still think about people who are in academia. We have had previous episodes where we had people from industries,
Mhm.
and they firmly believe that it's easy to go from academia to industry, but it's difficult to come back from industry to academia
Mhm.
because academia does not value something which they can't quantify. No papers, no grant money that they bought in an industry because their incentive is different in an industry.
No, but in industry, what is the most important industry? The sale. It
Yeah.
sells something.
Yeah.
So it's very, very clearly defined. And obviously there's the market and there are some limits, but it's probably much easier. The chances are probably better than 90 to 10 that you sell, your PET scan or CT scan or whatever you're selling than academia. Because if now come to academia, you say, oh, but we give you like 2 years salary, and then if you don't generate your own money, then it's a problem.
No, for them, it was even a bigger problem because they said that they are not even considered as good candidates in academia because they have nothing to show for based on the current reward system in academia. Because assume that I just know one.
Yeah, because they don't have publications.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. But they still belong to an R&D department in a big company.
Well, that comes back to my point that they shouldn't look at some age factors or thing. They should, okay, let's just talk. Let's just spend the time, spend the day together. Let's
No,
just
yeah.
go out, spend the day. Tell me about your vision. What did you do? What do you think is important? Nobody does that. That actually where you see if the guy has a potential to do something or not.
So in
I mean, when you hire a student,
Mhm.
the guy gives you a CV and tells you whatever.
Yeah, we often don't.
Just take him, like talk to him, say, okay, just tell me what you did, what you think about this and that, and see how he comes back.
So assume that you have like a 35-year-old or a 40-year-old coming back from industry to academia, and he or she applies for a tenure position. Would it be fair to include their experience, as you said right now? They don't have any publications, but but these people have really pushed the product in their company. And should this be included in the new tenure
Absolutely should be
process?
included, but that's not how it's played right now.
But would be nice to have
That
included.
I mean, yeah, it should be, but this not. And actually, coming back to this, that so it's really once structures are built, it's very difficult to undo them. With a revolution never work. French Revolution, whatever revolution, it always ends up in a disaster because now you go the other way. I think that the way is to kind of understand the system. Try to understand the system as good as you can. What are the advantages, the weaknesses? And every system has advantages, weakness. And then see kind of the vigor, So what is how can I push the system in that direction which I wanted to go without actually generating a big pushback? That's actually, I think, the message which I
Now this is pretty good. And now coming to the message. So what kind of advice would you give to a young academic who just graduated with their PhD or like doing their postdoc about like approaching the academic system with the current tenure conditions?
I think that the honest and easiest system is define your vision, what you want to do, and don't worry about anything else. If you have a vision, if you know what you want to do, you will be successful eventually. It might take a while, but you will be successful. I think the worst you can do to try to, as people say, chase the market. People say never chase the market. Make your mind up and just follow the thing, because once you start reacting, you just go in many different directions, and it's not going to work out anyway for you, because you're always reacting to something else. Just define your vision. What do I stand for? What is my core? How do I want to make a life? I mean, if I'm on my deathbed, I don't say, I wish I would have written another grant.
Yeah,
That's not what
sure.
I'm gonna say. I say, hey, I'm glad I came to this thing. I wish I would have figured out what the posterior singular does. I never could think of why we have two hemispheres, and what the left right is. Why this is really important and why not. Something like that. It's like I wish I would have actually figured this out, and not like I get another grant, or made another $100,000. That's not going to be important. So define your vision. That's, if there's anything I can give to, and that's actually what I tell my student. Really, follow your vision. Don't worry about anything. Things going to work out for you.
And I can vouch for it. So with that solid piece of advice, I would like to thank you again, Otto, for this
Thank
really
you very
cool
much. I hope that
podcast.
was useful.
I hope it was too. So thanks again. So we'll see you on the next episode of AcademiX, and tuning off. Ciao.